anybody else is less dangerous than this regime right now. Every day that goes by, they can kill more people than any foreign intervention, anybody else that comes in.
I woke up and I was like, oh, they captured this thug and brought it in here? Good. That's the kind of stuff I like. Thank you, Mr. President.
Worst thing that could happen, there's a lot of worst case scenarios, but what we don't want happening to Iran is it becoming Syria and, getting a mullah in a suit.
Nayek and his friends and now their buddies at Quincy, the Forever Wars. You gotta be kidding me. Had it not been for some of these wars, half of Europe would be speaking German right now.
A lot of this is not in the news. A lot of people don't know about it.
Bashar al-Assad's regime has fallen. Maduro has fallen. You have the sanctions. You have no resources. You have no water. Really, and you have Donald Trump in office. So you really have the perfect storm for regime change if that is the way that this will go.
Well, hi there, salam dostan aziz. This is episode 406 of Roqe, Iran Rises. Keep the focus on those inside Iran. A modest message to our people around the world across the diaspora. Keep the focus on those brave souls in the streets inside Iran. The moment is urgent, attention is power, and distraction can be betrayal. The goal is an end to this monstrous Islamic Republic regime. And yes, we are frustrated, scared, elated, outraged. We are attending our mass rallies in Toronto, LA, Melbourne, and Montreal. And we fear for loved ones that we cannot reach, that we cannot call. But the heart must not lose the plot, and our feeling of helplessness should not change the role that we've got. Keep the focus on those inside Iran. Don't get distracted by the wrong actor at the rally in your city. Don't get obsessed with a chant that you think isn't pretty. Don't turn this into an intra-community screaming match. Don't let ego, optics, U-Haul drivers, and online noise hijack the patch. History is not built on Instagram arguments. Revolutions are not won in comment sections. Keep the focus on those inside Iran. In 2022, we chanted, say her name, say his name, each life a story, each death a flame. Now there are thousands being killed in this waking nightmare, too many names for any tongue to bear. The streets are soaked with courage and consequence. This is not symbolic resistance. This is bodies in motion. This is blood and bone and breath on the pavement. Keep the focus on those inside Iran. Hope does not live in hot takes. Hope lives in pressure, in lobbying governments, in forcing leaders to wake up, in refusing silence when the internet goes dark and the cameras are cut. And hope lives fiercely in the unbelievable courage of Iranians who keep showing up even as the crackdown hardens, even as the streets feel like a war zone, even as fear is weaponized. They are carrying the weight. The least the rest of us can do is carry the focus, not the noise, not the vanity, not the side fights. Keep the focus on those inside Iran. Say it again. Say it louder. Say it until the lens refuses to drift. Here's to focusing on the brave souls in Iran. And here's to hoping to see this murderous regime gone. It's January 12, 2026. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 406 of Roqe. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Hello to you from Canada. Salam dostan aziz. Durud bar shoma. Hope you are doing well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Today is the third of our series, Iran Rises, and events are moving extremely rapidly inside Iran, both elating and devastating. We should mention that we are recording this at around 3-4 o'clock here Eastern Time in Toronto on this Monday, January 12th. So around midnight or 1 a.m. in Iran, and we are sharing perspectives and conversations as up to date as we can. Today we have another stellar panel to unpack the situation. Ari Aramesh in Washington, D.C., Dr. Kayvan Mirhadi, Dr. K in New York, and Lisa Daftari in Los Angeles. let's get to it. Today's episode of Roqe is brought to you in part by Stellar Law. Stellar Law is a boutique litigation firm in Toronto led by its founder and principal lawyer, Rana Nosrat Panoah. The firm operates on a simple premise: complex disputes demand disciplined thinking and meticulous preparation. Representing both individuals and businesses, the team handles commercial conflicts, criminal matters, and sensitive personal or financial disputes with a measured, analytical approach. Clients turn to Stellar Law for clear strategy, direct guidance, and advocacy that is as practical as it is exacting, and exciting. Rana and her team are known for distilling intricate issues into decisive action, navigating high-stakes matters with discretion, focus, and unwavering professionalism. For clients seeking representation grounded in judgment, rigor, and strategic clarity, Stellar Law offers something increasingly rare: a litigation practice based on a preparation and built on trust and results. Check out Stellar Law at stellarlaw.ca. Thanks again to Rana Nosrat and the team at Stellar Law. Today's edition of Roqe is brought to you in part by I Welcome. I Welcome is the one and only Iranian-Canadian company in premier tour, travel, and limo transportation. I Welcome redefines every journey with a modern fleet and professional drivers, ensuring that whether you're enjoying a scenic city tour, traveling for business, or arriving in style at a special event, your experience is unmatched with comfort and reliability. With I Welcome, your ride becomes a luxurious extension of your lifestyle. I've had the pleasure of riding in one of the luxury cars that Amin and his team at I Welcome have in their fleet. And if you are anywhere in the Greater Toronto area, you must use them for your travel needs. You can find them at iwelcome.ca. Once again, that's iwelcome.ca. All right, let me introduce our panel for this edition of our Iran Rises series. Dr. Kayvan Mirhadi. Dr. K is the chief of internal medicine at Clifton Springs Hospital in New York. He became a trusted medical voice for Iranians worldwide, as you may remember, during the COVID-19 pandemic and the Mahsa Amini protests. Today, he's continuing to speak to Iranians inside Iran with his massive platform. He has been tirelessly giving medical advice to wounded protesters during this recent revolution. He joins us from New York. Lisa Daftari is an Iranian-American foreign policy analyst and journalist with a focus on Middle Eastern policy and counterterrorism. She regularly provides on-air analysis and exclusive reporting on key regional and global developments. She is the founder and editor-in-chief of The Foreign Desk, an international news and U.S. foreign policy publication. She joins us from Los Angeles. And Ari Aramesh is an Iranian-American lawyer and TV commentator. He is a managing attorney at Whitcomb Selinsky and has represented clients in federal and state courts as well as in arbitration and mediation proceedings. He frequently appears on networks such as CNN, BBC, Fox, MSNBC, and Al Jazeera, offering insights on national security, foreign policy, and legal matters. Ari Aramesh joins us from Washington, D.C. Hello to you all.
Hello.
Thank you so much for doing this. So, if anybody knows anything about what I've been doing for the last 25 years, I'm pretty fastidious in terms of how I prepare for talking to people and doing interviews, and I like to have a focus and my questions ready. And I really am at a loss to try and do that in this conversation because things are moving so quickly, and different issues pop up by the hour at different talking points. So I'm very glad to have the three of you here, as you've been involved in at various levels in what's going on. But let me just start with, at this moment, what are you most thinking about in this current situation? And let me start with you, Ari.
Intervention. I have been making the case. I'm an oddball within the Democratic Party because for some reason the Democratic establishment finds any sort of intervention a big boo-boo, a big no-no. Sort of, they view it out of, I would say, embarrassment for foreign policy. The far right is more sort of like, we don't care. Why should we waste resources to do this? But the center left and the center right, I would say the Liebermans of the world, may he rest in peace, and the John McCains of the world, also may he rest in peace. That's where where real politique and also real political, real policy making laid. And so intervention. And why do I say intervention? Very rarely would you have an uprising like this, where one side has a monopoly over force and violence and bullets and guns and barrels, and the other side is just fighting with their bare hands. And you're just giving the regime carte blanche. Now, the president has made some promises. Now that he has done so, and I very much appreciate the fact that he has done so, he's given people hope. Don't do what Bush 41 did in Iraq in 91, telling the Shiites and the Kurds to rise up. And when they did, and we did nothing, Saddam slaughtered tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of innocent Kurds and Shiite Iraqis. So we have an obligation to intervene. I think it's going to be in American interest. I think not just a democratic Iran, an Iran that is not an Islamic republic is in the interest of the US, the free world, and our regional allies. And imagine the kind of currency, the kind of capital you'll buy here if you actually did intervene and did help the Iranian people topple this terrible, evil regime.
Lisa, this is kind of up your alley. I mean, how is this being read inside foreign policy circles? Are people starting to actually wake up, and how do you resonate with what Ari just said?
Yeah, I was nodding my head ferociously as Ari was speaking, because I tend to lean right of center, and we've come full circle, and I think a lot of people are waking up. Look, for years I've been covering this, and we've always gone between, one side says bomb Iran, the other side says let Iran get the bomb, and the third option, which I've briefed various subcommittees of Congress on, is the third option being the people of Iran and that grassroots movement. And now that that moment has come, we owe it to the Iranian people, and we owe it to ourselves. I mean, that case probably should be made more and emphasized more, that it would be in the interest of global stability, obviously regional stability, and the United States, not only our assets in the region, but here. Look, there's very few people who draw the lines and connect the dots on what Maduro's regime meant for Iran's regime, and how it was at the footbed of America, with Hezbollah, growing their presence there every month, and putting up Iran cultural centers. Meanwhile, they were terrorist hubs. I think it's important right now to make that case, number one. Number two, this knee-jerk reaction to regime change, and educating people on the fact that not all regime changes are created equal, and that Iran is a very special case because of the Iranian people, A, and B, now with this popularity behind Reza Pahlavi, which has been demonstrated by the Iranian people, and it creates that kind of safety net where we won't be a political vacuum. It's not going to be an insurgency. Actually, this regime is the insurgency that has occupied a country for 47 years. So trying to really underscore those 2 points. Look, the frustration with covering Iran is, obviously they see the videos, you see the death toll, you see the brutality, and then we go back to the conversation about human rights. And human rights will not move politicians to make decisions. We have to go back on a lot of the things that Ari pointed to, which is, the potential of a free Iran, the potential of a democratic Iran, the economic opportunity. I actually spoke at the Upfront Summit, which was a room full of 2,000 or 3,000 venture capitalists and CEOs and people who are involved in AI and tech, and I got to interview Reza Pahlavi on the potential of a free Iran, just purely economic potential, resources,
Yeah.
The brain capacity, the technology, innovation, etc. And he got several standing ovations from people who couldn't place Iran on a map or know nothing about the political implications. So
Okay.
I think these points are very important to make to the West, but I do think that we have more support this time around from the media, from interest groups, from the average American than we've ever had before.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Let me come back to some of what you said there, but let me bring Dr. K in. You'd be forgiven if you're not thinking of foreign policy at the top of your mind, because you're one of those people that obviously I've known for years, and I don't know anyone who is more in touch. I mean, we're in touch with friends and family in Iran, but who's more in touch with what's happening on the ground level in such a visceral way, because you are literally hearing from people who are losing their lives or in that kind of danger. So the question perhaps it takes a different tone for you. What are you most thinking about in the current situation?
I mean, right now I feel like we have a ticking time bomb. It's sad that to hear, human rights violation is not going to change a politician's mind to intervene. But what happened Thursday, to me, it's not like a news headline. It was a massacre, and direct information coming to me from physicians and people that live there. I'm still in shock since Thursday around 12 p.m. Eastern time, when I got hundreds and hundreds of pictures coming through my Instagram, and then there was a total blackout. And just getting connected with the docs in Iran talking about what they saw. It's more like, I don't know why it keeps coming to my mind, like Squid Games, where they're just shooting people in front of, and to them it's a game. And this is what it felt to me, that they're just, and those are the things they were telling me. They're just shooting at random civilians and telling them this is okay to do.
Kayvan, do people, I mean, when they're reaching out to you, I assume it's not just not the protesters themselves, but doctors as well reaching out to you. Are they saying anything about, I mean, are they asking medical advice? Or are they saying anything to you about, can you spread the word about, or asking for anything from us in the West, say?
It's essentially cry for help. I mean, doctors are trying to perform their ethical duties and help these individuals, but there's multiple levels of intervention by the government to prevent them from doing so. For example, talking to an ophthalmologist from Mashhad, he said, I wanted to open my OR and do surgery on a young girl who's had a bullet in her eye, and they told me not to do it. Doctors are telling me that they're going into the electronic medical records and obtaining every name of every person that presented to the hospital. So even later on, they can go and arrest them. Pharmacists are telling me they're told to identify every individual that comes to get any type of wound care equipment, like Vaseline, gauze, antibiotics. Forget about it. It's very hard to find right now. So they're like, at every level they can, they're interfering with these individuals because they don't consider them human beings. The people that are doing this, they're looking at their own, people, not humans. And that's what people are saying. They're saying that they're treating us like animals, just shooting at us. And Thursday was, that was a whole different ballgame. A week ago, I was getting pictures of pellet guns, brute force. Then it became ammunition. It became military use weapons.
Ari, there was a kind of euphoria on Thursday and Friday amongst for many of us, but I was seeing some posts like, I'm dreaming the revolution has come, and this type of thing from people in the West, who obviously were encouraged by seeing so many folks in the streets and in small towns and all across Iran. But it's taken a different tone in the last couple of days, especially, and those who've been watching this for a long time would kind of anticipate that this is going to take a dark turn as well. Do you feel like there was a bit of a, I don't want to minimize it by calling it a sugar high or something, but there was some on some level a lack of expectation for that this is what the regime will resort to?
No, I think the regime has set a pretty clear precedent here that every time they face demonstrations, especially demonstrations that threaten the regime, they use brute force. This is not the first time. They did it in the 80s. They killed God knows how many thousands of people in executions, street uprisings, clashes, so on and so forth. And then throughout, I mean, the last one was the Women, Life, Liberty movement in 2022 that lasted, I think, all the way to 2023. And they blinded people with pellet guns, and they shot God knows how many people, and they raped people, and they sexually assaulted others, and they threw some 14-year-old off a rooftop. And as Dr. K said, they don't consider them human beings. Those who are in the and the religious justification for it is these demonstrators are rising up against an Islamic caliphate, Islamic regime, the rule of the descendant or the rule of the deputy of the prophet. Therefore, kill them. They say John and Mara Namus, their lives, their property, and their wives, therefore are yours. Now, I'm not sure if they go to people's homes and take away their kids, but clearly, they have very easy justification to kill people and deprive them of their most valuable possession, which is their lives. I don't think we even treat animals like that, in a civilized place. So that's how easy it is, especially when you have religious justification. And that religious justification, just like how ISIS really easily brutally murdered people, raped people. This is the religious justification for the regime. And a lot of the thugs and a lot of the foot soldiers on the streets really drank the Kool-Aid. They really think they're fighting for the only Shiite Islamic regime out there, and they're waiting for the return of the Mahdi. So, and they really think Khamenei, this Iranian supreme leader or the supreme leader of the regime, is really the just descendant or the just deputy or whatever who's sitting at the throne of an Islamic government. But let me go back to what I think what the president did initially gave a lot of people hope. I'm not sure if we're taking, and what I mean by what the president did, said, hey, if they start shooting, we're going to start shooting back. Okay, that's a particular phrase. You open fire, we're going to open fire. That's not saying, well, we're going to levy some sanctions and then we're going to do this, and our indicators have indicated, indication has been indicated. You know, he was very clear, as Trump usually is. Nothing has happened yet, and the regime has killed God knows how many people. I've seen reports as high up as 2,000, 3,000, but 1,500. And I saw, just looking at all those bodies at the morgue in Cadillac, you could count really easily about 300 bodies just in one day. And that's one city, one medical center, and one coroner's office. So you can say, I talked to a couple of people yesterday who have Starlink, and they were saying out in the provinces, the situation is actually far worse. And there's little coverage. Now, very quickly, I'm not sure what the president is waiting for. Three possibilities. A, maybe he just said something off the cuff, and now he regrets it, that, he was just talking tough, and sometimes he does that. But then President Trump has said things that weren't really off the cuff and turned out to be actual threats that he made come true, such as Maduro. What a beautiful operation that was, by the way. I woke up and I was like, oh, they captured this thug and brought it in here? Good. That's the kind of stuff I like. Thank you, Mr. President. That bring in a narco criminal to justice. Or three, maybe the president is waiting for the right assets to be in place in the Mideast for us to pull the trigger. Not offensively, but I think defensively, especially making sure that we have enough FADs and Patriot batteries or whatever in place just in case the Iranians, because Iran has, to hit Israel, they needed those medium-range missiles and sort of those ballistic missiles. But again, a lot of the U.S. bases are within short-range rockets, especially in Iraq, where the Iranians have a lot of Iraqi militia supporters. But here's my answer. If these open fire on our boys and girls, our soldiers, our Marines, our sailors, hit them as hard as you can. I've never shied away from saying that the answer to these thugs is not negotiation. All those years that people in my party, from Rob Malley to you name it, sat down, and you don't treat these people like equals. They're not equals. They're not. You embarrass them, you humiliate them, and you drag them to the negotiating table on their broken backs. If not, you put a full metal jacket in the back of their heads. I said it.
Okay. I mean, Lisa, I fear that this is next level in terms of what the regime is doing. It's also next level in terms of we've never seen, maybe we say this each time, but I don't remember a time where it's felt this close to the regime befalling, and the people, the courage of these brave souls in Iran just grows and grows and grows. But, I was saying in my opening essay for this episode that one of our chants in 2022 was say her name, say his name. We couldn't even begin to do that now because we're talking about thousands of people who've been killed. We can't say all of their names. So where do you stand on this? I mean, you must have some insight, one would think, into whether you believe or disbelieve what Trump said and whether there is going to be some action on his part. What is your take on that?
It's interesting because we've talked for so many years about what it will take. And either we had the wrong U.S. president in office, or we had, the regime was too strong and they were able to really quash the protests. And now we have this perfect moment where you have the evolution of the Iranian protester that is not willing to reform, is not willing to compromise, is not willing to take anything short of regime change with secularism and democracy, fearless as anything, up against a regime that has never been so weak, that has its proxies diminished in the last year or so, that has Bashar al-Assad's regime has fallen, Maduro has fallen. You have the sanctions, you have no resources, you have no water, really, and you have Donald Trump in office. So you really have the perfect storm for regime change if that is the way that this will go. Now, a few things that you alluded to is this getting darker before it gets brighter. I think that's something that we all knew was going to happen. I think the Iranian people knew that was going to happen. And more than a sugar high, I think it was that they're willing to pay the price, and we're celebrating their fearlessness, and let's move forward with this same momentum. That being said, what will Trump do? I think this is a very nuanced calculation. Iran is not Venezuela. The removal of Khamenei, in his bed in the middle of the night with his pajamas isn't going to do anything in terms of removing the very complex web that they have really woven together for 47 years. So I
really,
think it's going.
Really, you don't think the removal of Khamenei would do anything?
I think it would be a symbolic hit, and it would galvanize more of that fearlessness and give the Iranian people a lot. But look, the Iranian people have been preparing. I mean, I don't know why he doesn't die just of natural causes. It's just baffling. I don't know what kind of vitamins he's on, but just the fact that we've been talking about who's going to be his successor, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. I don't even think if you take out him and his family alone, anything is going to happen. But
vitamin O, it's opium.
What is it?
Vitamin O.
Opium. Yes, something like that. And I think that it requires a much the worst. The worst thing that could happen. There's a lot of worst case scenarios, but what we don't want happening to Iran is it becoming Syria and getting a mullah in a suit, where the United States says, "Oh, look, you got your regime change. Look at this guy, a handsome guy." In a suit is going to now. No, the Iranian people, someone asked me that in an interview, said, what would happen if something like that happened? I said, the Iranian people would be back out on the streets, just like we saw in Egypt when they came out to Tahrir Square, and they said, this is not what we came out for. And they came out again the following year to protest again. So I think the Iranian people have had such a coming of age, particularly in the last 3-4 years, that this is it. I mean, with or without Trump's intervention, they're not going to back down. Now, the question then becomes, without that intervention, can they really remove this regime? It's going to be much, much more difficult, but I don't think it's impossible.
Okay, now, let me get to that. Let me get to that, because that's my next question.
One small thing that I do think is
sure.
important is to actually look at the 12-day war also. I think Trump pivoted a bit and said, I don't want to get involved, and then went and did it overnight. And I think that's important. He does that a lot, even though I think in the last 12 hours, many of us have been very disappointed by him saying that there may be talks. I think that's just a Trumpism. And I mean, maybe that's wishful thinking, but he also does kind of go back on things that he says. It's always hard to sort of say. Lisa, you mentioned Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. Let me ask you about that, because why doesn't Trump meet with him? I mean, at this stage, there are people who have never supported Reza Pahlavi who are now saying, right, okay, this is the right person. This went below the radar, I think, because there's so much out there right now. But a group of Iranian tech leaders, like sort of the top, sort of our Silicon Valley, Kushiar, Martin Basiri, and Dan Batat, and these guys all yesterday put out a statement saying, look, we've never been political before. We think at this point, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi is the right person for a transition, and we think this should. So, I mean, why isn't Trump agreeing to a meeting? That's just something that we've all wondered for a very long time. Like, if you really want the solution, it's through this guy. Listen to the people of in Iran. I also saw Trump say no to Machado, the Maria Corina Machado of Venezuela. He said it's not time for her to come out onto the scene, and I don't want to deal with her until things kind of. And I'm wondering if he's applying the same kind of approach to Iran and saying, we know this guy exists and we know he has the popularity. Let's deal with things on the ground first and not squander the opportunity. Now, am I giving him too much credit? Maybe. But if we do apply what he just did last week with Venezuela, then it does make sense to say he doesn't want to be, and also the other thing, while many of us want intervention because we want to really get to the finish line, intervention, foreign intervention has its consequences in something like regime change in Iran. And when you are meeting with Pahlavi, when you're meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, and then you approach Iran, then it has a different perception than if Trump handles the regime on his own and then deals with the day after.
Very quickly, Ari, do you have a thought on why he's not meeting with Pahlavi?
I don't know the first thing about internal opposition politics or Iranian politics. I can tell you why one would not meet with a foreign opposition leader, but I really can't really tell you exactly
why would one not meet with a opposition leader while a regime that you supposedly oppose is slaughtering people in the streets?
3 reasons. Reason number one, he's not sure whether the course of action he's about to undertake is going to be fruitful. Meaning, what Trump always likes to be on the side of the winner. Even with the 12-day war, Bibi hit Iran day 61, 60 days. The president gave him a 60-day deadline to negotiate day 61. It wasn't really what it was with U.S. acknowledgement, not U.S. green light. There's a big difference. Also, on top of that, I've been here on your show, actually, when I said Khamenei was saved by Trump, and then Trump bragged about it twice. Bibi and then General Kurilla, that's the 3rd Battalion Ranger, Kurilla the Gorilla. He had Khamenei in his sights. He's no longer the commander of CENTCOM. I think Bradley Cooper is now, so Admiral Navy. And Trump stopped him twice. He stopped him, and then he bragged about saving Khamenei. And I think part of what's going on, if this guy really doesn't pull through, and after he made all these promises, he's going to lose a lot of credibility with a lot of people, not only Iranians, but also he's going to be another Obama making, the red lines in the sand and then not enforcing it. What good is a U.S. president's word if he's not willing to enforce it, especially when it's given a lot of hope? But then second reason he's not willing to meet with a potential opposition leader is that potential opposition leader perhaps is not really on his or her radar. Machado, well, there's a Nobel Prize out there. That's a whole different story. There's been a lot of fragmentation out there. And also in terms of lobbying, probably the worst group out there, the MKO, has done better lobbying on the Hill than all these other opposition groups. You go out there and it's scary, actually. I can tell you I don't have a horse in the race, but I can tell you. Money and also dedication to whatever the cause. I mean, sometimes a cult is very dedicated to the cause. And so, and I tell you, I told you I don't have a horse in the race. I tell you which horse I'd like to push off the race. That would be the MKO. So crazy stuff. Right. Some people would say worse than the Mullahs even. So I mean, this is, and then last but not least, Trump is just not personally interested in meeting with him. He's probably heard some nasty things in a circle of people, but then I don't know about that. These are just some 3 broad reasons why one would not want to meet with an opposition leader.
I love when you start with, I don't know anything about this, but then you have 3 excellent reasons ready. That's the Aramesh way.
That was a double negative. I don't know nothing.
Right. Dr. K, when you're hearing from people now, I mean, in terms of, in as much as you can gauge this, because we've all been talking about the incredible courage of these people in the streets, are they, with all the devastation that you're seeing and hearing and getting asked about in terms of injuries and people's casualties, etc., is this diminishing the appetite of the people to keep going out in the streets from your view, or do they reach out to you and still maintain a defiance that we feel like we've been seeing?
I mean, the enthusiasm and the hope is there. Obviously it's not the same as last week, Thursday and Friday. People are very scared with everything they've seen and they've experienced. Their friends and family go through. Many people say, I lost a brother last week, I lost my son. These messages did come to me, so there's a lot of fear. And then there's the aftermath. It's they've invested a lot into identifying individuals. As I said, they're getting everybody's electronic medical records. And it almost seems like these vultures are hungry to eat now, and that's why with every conversation I've been involved in, there's a lot of, everyone has their opinion about what's going on, who's going to take over. To me, it's more like we don't have time. Whatever is the fastest solution, I think we need to be okay with that for the time being. If it's a transition or whatnot, because people's lives are at risk. Like, and I had an interview prior to this, and I said anybody else is less dangerous than this regime right now. You know, every day that goes by, they can kill more people than any foreign intervention, anybody else that comes in.
I remember during the post Mahsa Amini killing, the protests that people feared going to the hospitals, even if they were injured or their lives were at risk, because they would be arrested or detained or taken away if they went to the. Is that type of thing? I imagine is happening again, or is it too soon to even know about all that?
A lot of people are not going to the hospital because they will get identified. And if they go, they have to find a physician that's not okay with the government, and they will register them without their national security number or their identification, and then they have to pay out of pocket for, let's say you have a broken humerus and you're paying for orthopedic surgery. Imagine how much you're going to have to pay for that. And also, you know, there's physicians that are forming groups and opening up rogue hospitals in somebody's cottage, which, you know, I cannot disclose where these places are, but they're treating people there. They're like mini hospital, rogue hospitals, and they're bringing the injured up to this state. I'm getting reports that they're doing surgery. They're looking for an ophthalmologist to do the next surgery. This patient already had a gunshot wound to the femur, and now they need to treat the eye. So they're asking me, like, do I know anybody around this area? So these are ongoing, like, heroic things that are happening in our country. But every day that goes by is very dangerous for these individuals, especially they have nowhere to contact each other. They have nowhere to let us know about what is happening inside.
Just one more quick question to you, Kayvan, before, and I want to ask Lisa and Ari the same question. How do you personally manage what you're going to share and not share in terms of some of the awful images coming out of Iran? Because I know there's different schools of thought on this. You know, I sort of posted something the other with a horrible video yesterday and had a bunch of people say to me, don't show this stuff, it'll make people afraid in Iran. And I was thinking, well, even if they have internet access, they're seeing this themselves in the streets and they don't need me to scare them. But I'm sure you've thought about what you share and don't share because of the size of your platform. What is your policy on that?
It was very hard. I didn't know what to do either. When Thursday, I was getting some videos and images, and I still have them. As soon as I would put a story, people would attack me. Why are you doing this? You're discouraging them from going out. And I think some of us are just out here and sitting in our comfortable houses and, you know, waiting for them to do the job that's almost next to impossible. At this point, my intention, starting as of today, is to put out all these images, put out all this information, you know, influence the public opinion about really what is going on in Iran. Even my neighbor down the street had no idea. Like, it's not in his feed of Instagram to understand what is going on in Iran. I want this to be out there so people really understand the massacre, the murders that happen and are continuing to happen. So at this point, people are scared. They're telling me we did our part. The messages are coming. We did our part. What is next? What does Mr. Trump say we have to do next? What does Mr. Pahlavi say we have to do next? You know, I'm like, just stay safe. Sorry, I don't know what's going to happen next.
Lisa, what is your thought on that? On the sort of atrocities taking place? My thinking sometimes is, I know, for example, just with my platform, most of the people who are following me are in the West, and some of them are non-Iranian. So I do want them to see this stuff, but maybe I would feel differently if my audience was massively inside Iran. What's your own personal way of dealing with this?
More similar to yourself. My audience is not, you know, they're mostly American, and many of them are isolationists or don't understand. Really, I got into this work because I wanted to educate people on Iran, a place I've never seen. I was born in New Jersey, and I remember the first term paper I wrote was in 8th grade on the Iranian Revolution because I wanted to educate my peers and my teacher on what the actual reality is between, you know, the difference between the Iranian people and their government. And since then, it's really become kind of like my mission is to just educate, just to create awareness about it. So, you know, I do share a lot of those videos. I have another issue where I myself have to, you know, sometimes I have my editor look at the videos because I can't continue working the way I want to with the speed and the kind of the momentum that I want to have. And the fearlessness that I want to have if I continue to look at all these videos. It's gut-wrenching, and sometimes I have to have them look at it and say, okay, post it, because I can't really you know, I can't internalize and absorb all of this and continue going. So it's very difficult, but I think, again, our job here is to educate people and to make them realize what the reality is on the ground.
Let me put a sort of second last question to all of you. You've kind of intimated, Kayvan, Dr. K, that you feel like something needs to happen in terms of some sort of intervention. Lisa, you spoke about it a moment ago, but let me ask you guys all sort of directly: is there any end game here in terms of the regime changing without foreign intervention or direct support from outside Iran in one way or another? Ari?
I don't see it. I don't even see the government making concessions over extra potatoes without foreign intervention. Again, one side has a monopoly over guns and bullets. The other side is wearing sneakers and slippers on streets and throwing rocks. It's not an even fight.
But the side that has the guns also has a shit economy, a dead currency, no water, no energy. I mean, they are cornered rats, are they not?
Yeah, but again, it's got enough to feed its own loyal supporters. If Assad could withstand a civil war for 14 years with a very small minority of Alawites and some Christians and some foreign help from Iran and Russia, these guys, in my humble opinion, I don't have the numbers, but they probably have more supporters percentage-wise than Assad does. They're in a minority, they're not in the majority, and I don't know. But with a very small percentage of the population, so long as you have the coercive apparatus and the means to kill and to really hurt people, you have a significant upper hand, and they got it now. People in Iran, despite all the BS that's going around, they're fighting with rocks and sticks. They don't have guns. They're not armed. For the most part,
what's the BS?
All more peaceful protesters.
What's
BS? You know, I saw some moron out of Columbia University saying on Al Jazeera, I'll give you his initials, HD. He's saying that these are Mossad agents on the street. You got to be freaking kidding me. I mean, not only are you 2 million Mossad agents, and then he's like, yeah, they're waving Israeli flags. First of all, I haven't seen one in the streets of Tehran. And B, do you think Mossad agents wave Israeli flags when they carry out operations? On what planet are you? It's so moronic. It's so anti-Semitic. It's so entrenched in these stupid Uncle Napoleon thinking of some of these, especially the ones from the hard left, the guys who just anything the U.S. and Israel does must be bad by default, therefore they support the Islamic Republic. It's just moronic.
Well, as you know, there's some people already sitting this one out. Some activists saying that. I mean, I actually saw an Iranian activist like go so far as to actually say now, well, if there's a change and if Pahlavi comes, it'll be a worse dictatorship. So I mean, you know, they've already set the table. You know, we're going to oppose.
I don't want to sound like a coward. I'll mention his name, Professor Hamid Dabashi of Columbia University. There's no reason. He's a public figure. He makes himself come on Al Jazeera, and he said that these are Mossad agents. It's not the first time Dabashi is making, such completely idiotic, crazy statements. But if he thinks these are Mossad agents, I wonder how many of those boys and girls are going to be executed. In their indictments, his words are going to be used against them. Good job, Columbia University, Department of Comparative Literature.
Lisa, on the need for, is there an end game without foreign intervention?
It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. I don't think it's impossible. I mean, I'm a middle child. I'm an optimist. I hope they can do this. Look, before October 7th, there were, I don't know how much I can say, but I think a lot of people can get, there were campaigns to, so let me say it this way. There was the maximum, we have maximum pressure, and we also have maximum support to get the Iranians the tools that they need, weapons included, to carry this out. I imagine that with what the Iranian fearless, courageous protesters have shown us, those campaigns would go back into effect to help them get to the finish line. I mean, they've earned it. And I do think that they can do this. And I've said this so many times over the last few years, but today I posted it. The Achilles heel of this regime is not sanctions, it's not the UN, it's not Trump, it's actual people. It's the people of Iran coming out onto the streets, and their actual nightmare is unfolding as we speak.
A final question, Dr. Kami. One of the toughest questions that I get in my inbox is what should people do? What should I do? I'm in Thornhill, Ontario, and I kind of, well, I mean, I say all the things that we've learned to say, amplify, post, create awareness. But how would you all answer that question right now? For those of us, obviously, who want to do the best we can for those brave souls inside Iran in the diaspora, how do you answer what should we do?
I think, any way you can, everything we're doing, talk about it, post it, reach out to whoever you have access to. Some people have more access than others, like we have to know these people spent 47 years for this moment, this regime at every level of life. They know exactly when people are standing up and riot, protesting. They know exactly how to shut it down. And the people alone can't do it. They've done what they could, and they face so many deaths, and they need help. Every message I get is, please get the word out. We need help. We need help. There's nothing else we can do. These are unarmed civilians that are going through mass murder, massacre. So I think our position being outside the country is exactly this: to reach out, to post, and to talk about it. That's best we can do.
Just before I go to Ari and Lisa with that final question as well, when you say you're getting the messages, I'm just curious, is the tone or the content different from what it was 3 years ago when you were getting those messages?
Yeah.
How so?
It's a lot different than Thursday night or Friday night. There was a whole feeling of, we're there, we're almost there, we're out here, we're going to do it. And then Saturday and Sunday, sporadic messages are coming out because of the connection loss. Is more, this is what I saw. These are how many people died in front of me. This is the bus that went through and, ran over. A lot of this is not in the news. A lot of people don't know about it. It's just coming from individual people that, recount of what they saw. And it is almost like we're not defeated. We still want this revolution to happen. We want change, but we need help. So, and individuals that left the country are able to talk about what is going on now. I think those are very good people to interview. At least few of them are out. They're in Turkey. They're coming to Canada, and their recounts of what they saw is very eye-opening.
Lisa, do you have an answer to what should we do?
Yeah, I think everyone can help. I mean, right into your elected officials, right into the White House. I mean, post on social media. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. Educate your friends. I think it's important that we give the Iranian people the support that they deserve. And for those of us who are in the media, we have to push that narrative. I mean, maybe we get on because of the death toll or because of human rights, but then we kind of can pivot to strategy and how this could affect the United States and really our regional stability and global stability. Ari,
last point to you.
Lisa said it beautifully. Reach out to your elected officials, give money. It's legal. Just make a campaign donation and send a note. Thank you so much for your support for the people of Iran. $20, $50, $100, $2,700, whatever you want to get. Make calls. Don't engage in mudslinging and name calling on social media from either side. It just doesn't help. And by the way, if somebody was against you till last week and now today they are with you, celebrate that, welcome that, create a bigger tent. Don't say, oh, you're a criminal because you were with the others. Just bring them over. Right now, you want to bring over as many people as possible. Try to make a bigger, more inclusive tent until you witness the demise of this regime, and then you can duke out your differences. But right now, I would say, and again, look at Bosnia, look at Kosovo, look at Kuwait, look at Japan, look at Germany, look at Taiwan and the Philippines and Cuba, and look at Guam, look at Puerto Rico, look at vast parts of Asia, look at countless examples where U.S. intervention has either prevented genocide, stopped ethnic cleansing, or has led to peace and prosperity. But look at Rwanda, we didn't intervene. Look at Haiti, we didn't intervene. And look at places where we could have. And I'm not talking about boots on the ground necessarily. I'm talking about pinprick precision intervention. I'm talking about taking out command, control, and comms infrastructure, communication infrastructure. I'm talking about things that could help. And again, mistakes have been made, but I am so sick and tired of this narrative, especially stuff pushed out by Nyack and its friends, and now their buddies at Quincy, what is it called? The Forever Wars. You got to be kidding me. Had it not been for some of these wars, half of Europe would be speaking German right now. That's my end.
Ari, Kayvan, Lisa, I'm always grateful for people coming on the show, but at this moment, I know you're all very much in demand and you're volunteering your time. You're coming here in the middle of the day. Thank you so much for this, and it won't prevent me from asking you to come back again soon, but thank you for doing this. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks again to Ari Aramesh, Dr. K, and Lisa Daftari. What a great panel. Keep the interaction coming. We love hearing from you, both in our inbox, in our posting on any of our platforms, post on our Instagram at Roqe Media, or mine at Jian Ghomeshi. There's been a lot of dialogue. We appreciate it. And if you have guest suggestions, by all means, you can give those to us as well. Just a note that we are still planning to go ahead with Roqe Live 6, which is February 19th. We haven't been advertising it as loudly while the events in Iran take place, but for now, February 19th, Roqe Live. If you're interested in learning more about that and getting tickets that are available, go to our bio at Roqe Media. This is Full Time for Roqe for today. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together. Super Parisa, Savvy Roham, Tina the photo and video queen, and talented Anahita. Special thanks to Charming Kimia, Smart Pega, Methodical Kaveh, The Rising Keon for all of your help. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. You can subscribe as many times as you want. In other words, you can subscribe on a number of different platforms. It's free on most of the platforms we're on, I think. YouTube, Telegram, Spotify, Apple, CastBox. Once again, you can find the show on Instagram and on YouTube at Roqe Media. Also on Twitter, you can find, or X, you can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, in the immortal words of my late uncle Behrang, Mizun Bashi.